and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another book review. Today, I am going to be talking about The Second Chance Cinema by Thea Weiss. The Second Chance Cinema. I was so excited when I saw this as a Book of the Month selection last year. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's when I got this. When did this book come out? Yeah, it came out in October. So I was so excited when I saw this because if you have been here for a minute, watching my videos, there was a time when I was going through time travel type books like crazy, realizing that, hey, this might be a subgenre that I actually really, really like, where people essentially get to go back and get a second chance at doing things or revisiting their younger selves or seeing their grandparents or interacting with them in some way, that type of thing. However, the Second Chance Cinema wasn't quite that. Not in the sense anyway where the characters could be somewhere physically, like in most time travel books. So I'm going to do the blurb here. So an engaged couple discovers a magical movie theater that challenges what they know about themselves and each other in this captivating debut brimming with nostalgia and life-affirming wonder. I enjoyed this, but I also felt like the story was lacking in some parts and I wanted more. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so when the story opens, and the way that the author did this, let me just show you real quick. There's a marquee in here, there, Second Chance Cinema. And then with the first chapter, she calls it the opening credits. And then you have Act 1 with, Ellie is one of the main female character, so she has it kind of broken down as if it were a movie or whatever. Well, in the opening credits, there's a random guy, his girlfriend gives him a gift and it turns out to be a book that was written by Ellie, who ends up being our main female character. And we learn his connection to Ellie, right? And then that kind of goes away. And I guess that's like a prologue, it sets us up for what comes next. And what comes next is, Ellie's chapter, and we get the beginning of her story with Drake, who's the main male character. So Ellie is at a bar because what she does is she writes stories about, forgotten places that maybe were once happening in their prime, like businesses, whether it's a bar, a bookstore, a restaurant, or whatever. And she writes about it in such a way that it's almost like you're thinking that maybe something fantastical or magical is happening, because when she writes about it, it literally comes back to life. People start going there and they have a whole resurgence of their business. Okay. She essentially has saved businesses like this. And so that's going in. I'm thinking, okay, so this is, magical realism type thing. There's something about her, but alas, it was not. But anyway, she meets Drake there and they get to talking. The chemistry is there. He walks her home and we fast forward, I don't know how many years, not a lot, maybe a couple or something. They become a bona fide couple. She doesn't write as much as she used to. They are engaged to be married, and there's a lot in the book spent talking about their upcoming nuptials. There's a bridal shower and they're talking about honeymoon and different things like that. Well, Ellie is starting to miss who she was and what she used to do. She's just really just gotten so wrapped up into this relationship with Drake, and she loves him and he loves her, but she's just, kind of missing what she used to do, going to all these different places and writing and just, and she just hasn't been inspired. I think at one point even her agent had reached out and was like wondering if she was going to write a new book, if she had seen, any places that she wanted to talk about, helping to revive or whatever. So she just started thinking about this and thinking like, oh, would this be her life or whatever? And one night after, because they had become, as people do, like you get into these routines and sometimes these ruts and life happens, right? And it doesn't leave a lot of room for spontaneity sometimes. But one night after they had come from a dinner with their close friends, Ellie was, she wanted to do something different. Let's go off the beaten path. Let's go over here. Let's pull over. Let's go get ice cream. Let's, walk around. So having done that, that's when they stumbled up, on this theater. And even in the book, it says, at the end of a dark alley, glitter the lights of a glamorous cinema. Okay. And it's nearly impossible to find them because it's like in an alley. They turned and the thing that was weird. Okay, so here's where I got excited and I felt a little let down. Okay, so you go down this alley. There's this cinema. It's lit up and it's like the old kind from back in the day with the marquee out front or whatever. And the guys in the little booth selling tickets. And they approach it, because she's like thinking this could be my next door. This place is incredible. There's like nobody there, okay, but the kid or the young person that's selling the tickets. So he kind of tells them, the name of the movie. It says Your Story, and they had never heard that movie, but Drake was her fiance, he was very like apprehensive, like, okay, this is sketch. Why is this down here in the middle of a corner or alley or whatever? But Ellie is just insistent. We need to go in here because she can kind of see through the door. It's real, majestic and old school on the inside. And she's just inspired. So not only do they go in, not only do they purchase a ticket, he gives them these rules about, what happens when you watch stuff on the screen and how many times you can come back and all this stuff. And they go in and it is just so magnificent, and the staircases and the drapes and there's a concession stand. Again, there's nobody in this theater, okay? But just looks brand sparkling new, like, but it was something from like the 50s or something, So they go into one of the theaters and they sit down, and sure enough, the screen lights up. But what happens in this movie theater, when it says Your Story, it is literally the viewers. It's your story. You are seeing your life basically play out on screen. Like at least moments, starting from infancy, like they saw themselves in cribs as babies, where, and their parents are in the room. They saw themselves as, toddlers learning to walk. And of course, initially they are both just like stunned. And if I can remember correctly, like I think it like showed Ellie, as a baby through a toddler. Then it showed Drake as a baby through a toddler. So they are both just like, how is this even happening? Because most of the time, if something like that happens, it's because somebody was recording and you got this old school, the videos or whatever, and maybe someone's gotten hold of them. But there are videos like the whole family is in the frame, so who could have been recording? Because back when they were little kids, they didn't have nanny cams and hidden cameras. So it is, that to me was the magical part of it, right? And unfortunately, the only thing they could do was like look at themselves in the past and get those memories. They couldn't do anything, Drake is just he's freaked out. So he's like, let's go, because this is creepy. How do these people know us? Where they get this footage? And Ellie is more just like, oh my God, how incredible is this? So they leave, and I can't remember how many tickets they got. Like a bunch of tickets, and this is how many times you could come back. Long story short, of the gist of the movie, not the book, but what was happening is they were getting to see like kind of pivotal moments or moments from their lives that, like for example, let's say if you are an adult and you don't really have vivid memories. If you're like my age, I'm 56. I don't have vivid memories of like getting ready for school in elementary school, or doing my homework or playing with my toys. Not in elementary school. I remember having a Barbie dream house. I think it was a little bit older than that. But if I were to sit here and say, yeah, because my mom never spent time with me, and I always had to get myself ready for school, and she never fixed me breakfast. Okay, I go to the cinema and there's my mom getting me ready for school and fixing me breakfast. That's kind of what it was for like memories they had lost, or things that they, narratives that they had created that they thought were true about their parents, and all this stuff to show them this is what happened. This is what really happened, and, it was also a way, I think, for them to be able to appreciate where they were now. But here's what my issue was. I feel like, okay, if me and my husband go into this theater, and let's say, because this ended up at some point, because they kept going, Ellie talked him into going back, because it's like, we got to go back. This is crazy. Like, how is this happening? And they wanted to talk to a manager and all that stuff. And I think this lady came out. She basically was kind of repeating what the boy was saying at the window. These are the rules. This is what do you want to know? If you don't want to be here, you can go home. Nobody's making you stay here. This is just, the theater. But I feel like, okay, if me and my husband are sitting there and I'm seeing all these things, and I know, because they weren't just showing all the happy, cheery moments, there was some like, Ellie's brother had died, and she still had issues around that. So, I'm thinking one thing happened, something else happened. But anyway, she was a little promiscuous, like different things. Like, why does my husband get to be privy to those memories if that's not stuff that I wanted him to know, or things I had shared with him long before we even met? And I guess the whole thing was to, number one, maybe show this person, show her husband that maybe this is why she's the way she is. Maybe this is why she doesn't like getting attached. Maybe this is why she, feels this way about whatever. And the same with him, because it was kind of revealed that he was still hung up potentially on somebody, based on like timelines and stuff. And maybe the other reason was to show the like Ellie, like if her fiance saw this thing about her play out on the big screen, and he still loved her, that maybe it was okay for her to open up and share parts of herself with him, or vice versa, So I got it from, top level, maybe, is what the author was trying to convey. But I was still like not happy that there wasn't like, and I guess that's more real life than anything. But you put in a quote magic theater, why can't they go back? Why can't they just walk through the screen and change some stuff? You're just showing them. It's just a tease, of stuff they can't change and stuff they already know. Well, some of it they knew. Some of it I think they misremembered, which again, I think a lot of us do that. And I found it entertaining and enjoyable. The only thing that made me mad, and I'm going to share this so that other people, if you decide to read this book, you don't go into it with this expectation. there was never anything revealed about why that place was magical and how it happened, right? It's just like it just happened chance. And what's really crazy is that they ended up telling their friends about it, the friends who, they had went to their house for dinner, and the woman was pregnant. And they all went out for ice cream. And because at first they weren't going to tell them, and, they were like, no, we need to make sure we're not crazy. I know both of us are seeing this, but if we maybe get some other people, we could show them, and then that'll prove we're not crazy. Theater, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. The big lights and all that stuff, it wasn't there when they took their friends. So that's the only part that really kind of grinded my gears. It's like, okay, I can get that it wasn't there. Okay, not that part that it wasn't there, but that if it was so magical, why didn't we get an explanation as to why only certain people could see it? Like, what was that all about? And I mean, I don't usually like stuff like that, because you can't say that, like, I'll give you an example. Like, when I read the book, and I've talked about that on this channel, The Vanishing of Josephine Reynolds, I talked that I really, really enjoyed that book, and I did a review on my channel. And basically, this woman was able to travel back into time, and she ended up interacting with her great-grandmother, I think. But it was because a specific door that was on the house was a portal. And when she walked through the door, because she had inherited the house that her great-grandmother had built and lived or whatever from her grandmother. So when she had this door put on there, which appeared to be the original door that she saw at a salvage yard, she closed it to go outside to see how it looked. And then when she opened it and went back in, she was somewhere else. So we know it's the door. The character knows it's the door. Yes, it's magical or whatever. There was the 7-year slip. It was the apartment. There was another book that I read where it was something that she did or said. Like, there was reasons, there were mechanisms. The characters even understood how to activate this magical thing. Dark matter, it was the machine, right? So that's the only thing. It's like the theater was quote unquote magical, but how? Like, was it when they ate the ice cream? Like, how did they come across this damn theater? That left me like changing my overall rating of this book. I feel like if that part of it would have been handled better, this probably would have been like a 4.5-star book for me. But alas, and a lot of the things too that we were shown on the screen, it wasn't anything that the average person, and again, maybe that was the point, it wasn't anything that the average person probably hadn't been through in their lifetime or experienced. And maybe that was the point, to show them that, no, you guys aren't perfect, but you ended up together for a reason. So yeah, enjoyable but frustrating at the same time. If you have read The Second Chance Cinema, what did you think? Am I doing too much? Did you understand how all of that worked? Did I miss something? If I did, please let me know in the comments. Please. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video. And to everyone who has already subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. If you have not, I'm going to give you a second or two. Go ahead, click on it, click on the subscribe button. Let's get those numbers up. Thank you. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.